Hello, my name is Ronald Vallejo. I'm gonna be talking about a little bit of marijuana. What is marijuana? What kind of drug is? And I'm gonna be talking a little bit about the history of marijuana. So, first of all, what is the marijuana or cannabis? Is a drug. It's also well known as a drug because it have a direct have a direct effect of the nervous system. So um, cannabis, according to the form of presentations, there are marijuana or hashish among any other names. It's a drug that have a that depress the nervous system. It contains within its compounds the principal molecule of the marijuana is the THC or the tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the principal psychoactive or psychotropic compound of the cannabis or cannabis sativa. So the marijuana presents in its varieties or strains, which are more than those 2,500 arising from the cross or the mix between the subspecies of the sativa or sativa indica or sativa ruderalis. So the cannabis in its fresh in its fresh states contain the tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, which is then converted to the well-known THC. The predominant psychoactive chemical compound in the cannabis is the tetrahydrocannabinol. Actually, the cannabis or the marijuana contains more than 500 different chemical compounds, included at least 130 cannabinoids other than THC. So all of them have a different effects than the THC, but they also act. They have a direct impact in the nervous system. So cannabis is also is often used for its physical and psychological effects, including general change in perception, euphoria, better mood, increase of appetite, and the feeling of being under the influence of the drug, or place or flown in the popular parlance. So I'm gonna be next talking about a little bit about the history of marijuana. This is amazing because there is a lot of evidence that the use of marijuana was even before Christ. So it was a long time ago. There's a civilization of people using or get benefit by the marijuana. There are the samples of marijuana seeds in the brazier ritual, in an ancient cemetery in Romania. So it's also known that cannabis was used by various types of civilizations, such as the ancient Indians, Niger, and Nepals 1,000 years ago. So the marijuana was used in the Asian civilization in the region in religion or ceremonic rituals of religion. So the Syrian people were also aware of the cannabis and its psychoactive properties. Under the name of Nubunu, that was an old name of the marijuana, the name that probably gave the rise to later cannabis. They used it in religious ceremonies. So the cannabis was introduced to the Aryan people by the Scythians and the Thracians, Dacians, whose the shamans, they also well known. They was well called Kapnobatai, and they also be called as those who walk on the smoke of clouds. They used to this population used to burn the flowers of the plants to introduce trance states. So another discovery, that really interesting discovery, is that their archaeologists discovered hemp seeds suggesting an ancient ceremonial practiced by the Scythian peoples during the 5th and 2nd century before Christ, which confirmed earlier historical reports. So cannabis was introduced to the new world of the modern world in the 1545. The first period of the use of marijuana was the first introduction to the marijuana was first in North America, then and later was in South America. A study published in the South African Journal of Science revealed that pipes uttered from Shakespeare House in Stratton-upon-Avon contained traces of cannabis. So the chemical analysis was carried out after researchers hypothesized that the note weed mentioned in his famous sonnet number 76 and the journey in my head that was a masterpiece of Shakespeare of sonnet of number 27 could refer to the cannabis and its use and its properties. So the use of cannabis began to be criminalized in several countries at the beginning of the 20th century. In 1911, it was banned in South Africa, and in 1913 was banned from Jamaica. That was still a British colony. And in the 1920s, in the United Kingdom and New Zealand. For example, in Canada, they made the use of marijuana illegal in its Opium and Drugs Act of 1923, before any use of the plant has been reported in that country. In 1925, at a conference in the on the International Opium Convention, a compromise was reached to prohibit the export of the Indian hemp to countries that had prohibited its use, and to require importing countries to issue certificates approving the entry of said herbs, indicated that they were required exclusively for medical and scientific purposes. So participants were also required to exercise effective control in such way as to prevent illicit international trafficking in Indian hemp, especially in recent. So gonna be talking about a little bit the history, what happened in marijuana in the United States. The first restrictions in the United States on the sale of cannabis were made in 1906. In the District of Columbia in 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act law was approved. So that's a very famous law that prohibits marijuana, and also which prohibits the production of hemp in addition to marijuana. The reason hemp was also included were questioned. The Federal Bureau of Narcotic Agents report that hemp farms of fields were also used as a source of marijuana dealers. So talking about the criminalization of this, criminalization is a big topic to be talking about, especially especially that there's a lot of countries that are having real benefits of this criminalization of marijuana, and there's a lot of countries that the use of marijuana is extremely illegal, not even in the medical purposes. So that's a good question to make. That's a good topic to make a debate or a discussion. What do you think about the criminalization of marijuana? What do you think that what it comes to your mind about the criminalization? Is good or is bad? What kind of positive aspects it have the criminalization or this criminalization? So that's all for me. So thank you for listening to me, and I'm gonna leave my classmate to continue with the presentation. Thank you.